Good evening, Bills Mafia. What's going on? Welcome. Happy Monday. Welcome to the 2022-2023 NFL season, and welcome to Buffalo Late Night. I'm glad you guys are all here, and I'm your host, Thomas DeLoss. Thank you for tuning in this evening, and if you're listening on Spotify, happy Tuesday. You can find our show on all social media and streaming platforms free, and that's including Spotify and YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter right now, come and hop on over to YouTube, join the conversation, hit that subscribe button, and come chat. And a big shout out to my grandparents who I know are watching right now. But tonight, joining us, we have the co-host of the Food for Thought podcast with Bruce Nolan and the Buffalo Bills pregame and halftime host on WGR 550, Mr. Nate Geary. We also have the co-host of the Cover One Buffalo podcast and self-anointed graphics dude for Cover One, Mr. Aaron Quinn. Gentlemen, how you doing?
I'm okay. I'm trying to grow the same facial hair as Aaron, so
don't do that, dude. Don't do that. You're not married yet. You can't get away with it. But Nate, that lettuce is looking extra crispy tonight. Do you just get out of work or something? Look at that thing.
I'm always working. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just always working.
That pop is very, very nice. I like it. It's got a lot
It's not quite Perino pop, but it's close.
Oh, yeah. Perino's a whole different thing. Yeah. Also, did not know Perino was, man, he used to be a bigger dude and he like trimmed down. It's crazy.
Me and Perino are kind of going in like opposite directions. Like I'm getting fatter.
You're following the Sal Mariano track.
Yes.
If you watch some shows from back when Nate and I did Cover One Buffalo, like preview shows and stuff, I was pushing up there.
I never remember you being fat, Aaron.
Not fat, but go look back.
Was it maybe more like bulk,
it's
Aaron?
Different. The beer hit me all here.
That's how it happens. Yeah, my face. I look in the mirror all the time. And I tell my wife, I'm like, it literally looks like I've got like a stomach, boobs, and a fat head. It makes no sense.
It's a dad bod. It's just where the dad bod carries it. You were just prepping.
See, right? The great thing about 2022 is dad bods have sort of transcended whether or not you're actually a dad. So now I can.
Yeah, it's an inclusive thing.
It's very inclusive. Dad bods are the most inclusive things we have in white male society. So we do not discriminate. There are lots of us. We roam everywhere, and don't make fun of us at Wegmans. You know, we understand that we're spending $300 in buying for, in Aaron's case, a family of four. We buy our food for a family of four, but we are just a family of two here.
Speak for yourself. I'm an Aldi shopper. I save lots of money. Get out of here. Sorry.
I shop at both.
This show's already off the rails. Poor Thomas over here trying to keep a show on the rails.
This is what you signed up for.
This was a huge mistake bringing you and I on here.
This is all good though. I thoroughly enjoy. In fact, it actually is nice because it makes me not have to do as much leg work, which I typically enjoy. But aside from all that, let's get to our injury specialist. We do have a resident injury specialist, Dr. Kyle Trimble, Mr. Banged Up Bills. Kyle, welcome aboard this evening. How we doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Aaron, Nate, great to see you guys.
I didn't even see you in here. What's going on, buddy?
I show up every week. They just let me in, from time to time.
We just leave the door a little ajar, and he just kind of busts his way out through. So we're good. Kyle, how are we looking coming out of week 1 and heading into the home opener against the Titans?
For Buffalo, we're looking really good. The only concerning injury, which isn't really all that concerning, was Ed Oliver left midway through the game with a right ankle injury. By video, I thought he suffered a medial ankle sprain, which is relatively rare, but he had tried taking Cooper Kupp down, and he pivoted real hard on the right leg to get back around to grab Kupp, and then he had like 50 bodies fall on top of him. So he'd even said that in the post game, left in a walking boot, and the team said he was just generally sore the next day. So he has a nice long layoff to really kind of get right. If it is indeed a medial ankle sprain, the timeline to like time missed is about eight days from what the literature shows, but we could say anywhere from a week or 2 weeks. But he's going to have 11 days off total from Thursday to next Monday. So I'm pretty optimistic that he's going to play, and I don't know that he'll be limited too much. But if there's any question about it, it's early on in the season. We just have to go wait and see how practice practice participation goes on Wednesday or Thursday when they return. And then I know people were worried about Reggie Gilliam. He's fine. He got rocked by Bobby Wagner coming across the middle. I guess that's what happens when you try going across the middle, especially without the ball. And then the only other thing I noted that could pop up again here is Tim Settle. He didn't show up in regards to the injuries. He wasn't reported as of an injury during the game, but I had noted that he was kind of limping around, laboring with a sleeve on his right calf, which suggests that he suffered the calf injury that kept him out most of the preseason. It's very likely that he could have re-aggravated the injury. We'll get more information come Wednesday or Thursday, but calf injuries do tend to linger, especially right after getting them healed up, even after a month off like he almost had there. So that'll be one to watch. So having Tim settle out, and if Ed Oliver is 100%, isn't great for that up the middle, especially with Derrick Henry coming to town. But we've shown that we can still contain Derrick Henry and keep him in check, even with some of the other bodies on the field. So Bill's standpoint, it looks really good. I know that can't be said for other teams around the league and even for Tennessee, but hey, that works in our favor.
Okay. I got one for you, Kyle, while you're here. It's sort of a joke, but with a guy like Ed Oliver,
your hairline's a joke.
hey, careful there. Hey, you didn't get your hair all lettuced up, so you can't make hair jokes. A guy like Ed Oliver, who's country, who's a farm boy, do you grade those guys on a curve in terms of like pain tolerance for something that's like a week long thing like this? Ed Oliver, if you're telling him, hey, this is like an 8-day injury, he's playing, right? Like in his mind, like this dude jumps on top of horses, he'll get bucked off a horse and play. Do you grade that on a curve when you're looking at some of these guys, like what type of the toughness they are?
I do and I don't. Like, that's something you have to factor in. I mean, you look at the injury history of these guys. Are they missing a lot of games, or are they just getting out there despite whatever's going on? Like we saw it with Jordan Poyer. Eric Turner said he partially tore his rotator cuff last year, and he battled through it. And I think he only missed one game, and I can't remember if it was even for the shoulder at all. But
can you imagine tearing your rotator cuff and actually?
Yeah, he continues playing and had.
I wouldn't even get out of bed.
So it's like sometimes there is that toughness factor. It's like, okay, are you hurt or are you injured? And I think it's more of a Ed Oliver's probably more of a hurt thing. Tape it up, get me back out there. Let me go, get my tackles, sacks, whatever I got to do there. So I don't see how he doesn't play unless there's something we're not seeing. But he was probable coming out of the game initially, and then he came back in for 3 plays. I think he got kicked by somebody, and they just said, hey, let's shut it down for the night. And of course, they were fine without him for the second half. So, if you get thrown off a horse and you don't want to get back on, then, maybe you shouldn't be playing football.
Right.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Anything else? Any other injury things of note?
Not for the Bills. I was looking at the Titans. I've been trying to start track those. AJ Moore left with an ankle injury. I don't have details on that yet, but that could be work into our favor. Taylor Lewan left briefly, was seen in the medical tent. I don't have any details. Derrick Henry was getting checked out, which could be interesting, especially with him coming off the broken foot last year, though he looked like he was still playing fairly well. Of course, they lost. So, I mean, can you say that they played all that well?
Brian Dable won.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Taylor Lewan, does he suffer from that the D-bag syndrome?
I think so.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
That's not bad case though. That's a long term.
That's
not a day.
That's why he's got the tribal tats on his arms. He has to fulfill it.
Yeah.
You know, a good cure for that is
no.
Shaq Lawson, coming off the edge there. He's looking for his revenge game with that there. I can't wait to see how that happens. And didn't Jordan Phillips getting a little
Twitter spat.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that on Monday.
The a couple weeks ahead, we just saw today the news with Fuller. We'll be out for that Ravens game, torn ACL. I hate to see it, but definitely some Bills news up ahead as we look ahead.
And then think about it up ahead too. The week after that, TJ Watt, there's a high chance that he's not going to be playing. Right? So he might have avoided the full pec tear, but I don't.
Did he really?
Although they're saying he's
there's a second opinion, right?
Yeah, wow. But this is the same injury that Matt Milano had back 2 years ago.
Yeah,
It's
he's not
crazy
coming back
that-
for that Bills game.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, if he does, he's going to be severely limited. It's like we saw how much Milano struggled. He was out there playing, but he was only out there in passing downs when he suffered his.
Yeah,
right.
So imagine Watt trying to get out there and play with a not fully healed, pectoral muscle. Like he's just going to struggle to get off the edge. Though, I can't remember off the top of my head who he'd line up against. He'd probably still beat the pants off of him, but still, he wouldn't be as effective.
Probably beat up on Brown all day.
But you're talking a huge difference from the opener last year where they had Stephen Tuitt and TJ Watt. Now both of them are potentially out. Yeah. That's a huge difference for a team that, I mean, granted, their quarterback is better.
They'll still be great. They just got, I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick is silly good, man.
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, definitely some injuries are working in our favor. Come the next few weeks here that might make it a little bit easier. It's not going to be a walk in the park, but certainly better than what it could have been.
Well, we'll see what happens. But again, as usual, Kyle, definitely appreciate you. And for anybody that's interested, you can find Kyle at bangedupbills.com as well as on Twitter at bangedupbills. He writes for Cover One, Locked On Bills. Comes on this show. He does all the things and Buffalo Rumblings as well. And you can find him here. So Kyle?
Find me everywhere. That's what it is.
That's right. I'm having a pleasure to see you.
Yes.
You coming
everywhere and anywhere. Kyle?
Yes.
Have a great evening, my friend.
You too, guys. Good talking with you.
Now, as a soon-to-be father, I, as many parents, want the best for their children, and it starts with their dentist. Dr. Zach Mills and his practice, A Dentist for Kids, is who my wife and I will be sending our son Griffin to. A Dentist for Kids offers individual dental treatment for kids of all ages. For providing relaxed, fun, and encouraging environment, Dr. Zach's goal is to help your child build confidence in their smile and with their overall dental health. A Dentist for Kids is currently accepting new patients, and they participate with most major insurances. If you visit Dr. Zach, mention Buffalo Late Night for $25 off your choice of a custom whitening kit or an electric toothbrush. Call today to set up an appointment with Dr. Zach and his team, 585-538-7230. Now, gents, week one, we saw that the Bengals lost on multiple missed field goals, one including an extra point that was the game-winning field goal. Do you expect teams to potentially have a more dedicated backup plan in an event their long snapper does go down?
How do you do it without like cross training a guy?
Yeah.
And it's such a specialized, like I think if you sat and talked to
super
Reed,
specialized.
Yeah, talk to Reed Ferguson. Like it's not something that like I don't think you could take just an offensive lineman with some center snapping and then turn him into a more reliable. Like maybe you could get more reliable than what teams currently have, but you're not going to get the same type of thing. The Bills who was it? AJ Epinesa stepped in.
Yeah.
As a long snapper, and he had done it in high school or something. Like you have to have somebody that has.
That's what it ends up being though. Like high school.
Somebody.
Yeah, somebody in high school. Exactly.
Little league.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a tough one that like, you're not going to roster a dude to be, it's such a limited amount of plays that you actually need that person. Right, it's a tough question. It's sneaky.
Not necessarily like an extra person on the roster, but do you think that they'll potentially maybe have somebody practice, like a person with Reed and have him, have Reed show whoever that is, maybe it's Epinesa, and get them more finely tuned if in fact that situation does arise? Because you saw how, that literally caved.
It changed the game. Yeah, it changed the game. Also, though, the Bengals don't worry about that if Joe Burrow doesn't turn the ball over 5 times.
Also true.
That's, don't have it come down to multiple field goals at the end of the game. I thought they
fixed that offensive line now.
I thought, well, they spent a lot of money on it. So did the Dolphins, and I don't think the Dolphins offensive line got a lot of particularly great returns. They did okay, but outside of, a couple
and it's week one.
It's week one. Benford, what do they have? Christian, what's their defensive tackle's name? The Patriots.
Christian Christian starts with a W, not Watkins. Christian.
Come on, the kid they got from
the Patriots or Dolphins?
Yeah, Patriots.
Wilkins.
Thank you.
No, that's not it.
The defensive tackle?
Yeah, from Bama. Come on, Christian.
No. Barmore.
Yes, Barmore. Thank you.
Barmore.
Patriots.
Yes, I was thinking of the Dolphins.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, like I don't know. Teams that spent a lot of money on veteran offensive linemen aren't getting a lot of great returns. Lyle Collins did not really add the bang for their buck. Alex Kappa in the middle. I think it's the biggest reason that I don't think the Buccaneers are doing anything, but it's hard to say that because the NFC is bad, guys. NFC is not good. NFC is not good. Could you imagine how many games the Bills would win if they were in the NFC?
All of
Yeah, it's
them.
gonna be what I try so hard though not to make any moves from where I was at preseason. I don't change in week one.
But who
week
do
one,
you
I've
even like in
been
the
burnt
NFC?
so many times.
Minnesota.
Yeah, no.
Minnesota's the only
Minnesota
one.
was cool.
They looked the best during week one. That would be. I could never come full circle on Minnesota after 1 week. I would need
History tells me
weeks.
the Packers are going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Like they got stomped last week 1-2.
But I even talked to a person at work and I said, honestly, it's going to be the Chiefs, the Chargers, or the Bills. That's who's winning the Super
Jimmy
Bowl.
G is going to be back in San Fran and they'll win enough games to be annoyingly competitive.
Mm-hmm. Don't say something dumb like that.
Philly is got a real good defense
like
and explosive enough to hang in a game.
I like Philly.
There's some teams. They're not. You're right. It's not the AFC.
Carolina,
one thing I'll say,
doo-doo.
I would say don't talk. I would not take anything in terms of the offensive line away from week one. I think teams don't take preseason the way they used to. I don't think the first team is not getting reps league wide the way that they do. And I think no positions hit harder than that than the offensive line, because on the defensive line, you're going to get rotations, right? You're going to get guys playing 50, 60% of snaps. Offensive line, you're playing 100% of the snaps. And if you haven't played a full 4 quarters of real actual football, that first 4 quarters is going to wear on you. You're going to get some fatigue coming. And you really have seen that in all these games. Towards the end of the games, QBs have just been getting lit up all week long. Like even,
was getting torched.
And even honestly, like the Bills offensive line did fine. Most of them graded well, but like Josh Allen extends plays, right? Like Josh Allen makes it so even when they are getting toasted and they're getting pressures, like Aaron Donald still had pressures. He was in the backfield, but Josh Allen was able to escape and extend some stuff. Not every quarterback can do that. And that's been kind of on display this weekend. I think there's a lot of fatigue involved, and that could take with some of these offensive lines like 2 to 3 weeks to really catch up to be where the rest of these units are.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. You're seeing, the teams we thought were bad, but then there's teams like the Bears who, granted, the weather played an entirely different,
they played
role
bad.
In that.
Yeah, they did. They did not look like the team. But here's the thing. I think there's probably a world where if you're looking at the Los Angeles Rams, I don't think they're as good as the Bills. I didn't go into that game thinking they were as good as the Bills.
No.
The Bills just showed it. So I think the Rams are still going to probably win 10, 11 football games. They're going to get their offensive line situation figured out. They were incredibly predictable. I think if I looked at that team, the one person I walked away maybe most disappointed in was Sean McVay, because it just was not a creative game plan.
But he owned that.
He did. But own it. But you're in the week one showcase of the NFL season.
They never came out of 11 personnel.
You never came out of 11 personnel. You were easy to defend for the most part. Your quarterback never got to the back half of his reads. You never found a way to feature Allen Robinson, even though he is primarily going to be their backside guy in that offense.
He looked terrible, though.
You found ways to involve Odell Beckham Jr. when he was integrated early into the offense last year. And obviously I think they missed Van Jefferson a lot. And I think they didn't have that guy in the offense to take the top off the defense. And
they also don't have
that guy.
They have no faith in anyone in their running back room. It doesn't seem like
it's a little puzzling. I was definitely surprised to see Cam Akers basically ride the bench, get 3 carries, but that Jordan Phillips play probably got him in that the same kind of like the Sean McDermott doghouse, which is I think where James Cook is currently.
Yeah, I will say it was interesting. I listened to the entire Jalen Ramsey podcast, which actually I think I might give Jalen Ramsey another look, because I've always liked him as a player, but I've always been like, oh, this guy's kind of like dog shit personality. I don't really like the way he acts. But listening to his podcast actually changed my mind quite a bit. And it was an interesting, he talked a little bit X's and O's and a little bit sort of the emotion of it. And he was usually really upset about losses. And he came out of this loss and thinking I think the Rams have this idea that they're in for, similar to the Bills, like a potential 20-game season. They're into an 18, 19-game season where, this loss sucks and things got out of hand, but they're not that mad about it. I think the Rams think like we're talking, looking at the NFC, like this NFC thing's wide open, right? A loss to the Bills doesn't hurt us. I said it all week, like losing to the Rams is the best case scenario in this first 6 weeks, because it's a game that really doesn't matter when you're talking about the playoff picture. Like you can lose to the Rams, no serious ramifications. I bet the Rams internally feel the same way. Like, dude, Buffalo's a great team. We lost to them. What a great way to get a loss out and remind us who we are. Let's rebound from this. I don't think they're thinking this is anything more than that. And so maybe that's why they stayed sort of vanilla and didn't panic at any point in this game, and just kind of, I think they thought they were in it at halftime and it got away from them a little bit. And then before they knew it, McVay was like, shit, we didn't do enough to win this game. And Josh Allen just ran all over us. Cool.
Sort of seems like they maybe, it's week 1, but it just sort of seemed like the Bills came in super prepared,
punched them right in the mouth.
Ready to push LA into their plan B, right? And to say, well, we're not going to take away Cooper Kupp, but we're going to take away everything else. And if you want to just throw to Cooper Kupp all day, we don't believe you guys will be able to sustain that.
And that was working, though. That's hard not to keep going to.
That's right. I think 100%.
On top of that, they were able to actually eliminate Aaron Donald in the same second. I mean, Josh was getting it out in 2.43 seconds.
Yeah.
Which is not,
nobody game plans for that, right?
No.
Like when you've been having Aaron Donald for a long time, I don't think you game plan for a quarterback that's similar to the way Josh Allen plays, to not hold on to the ball and know that Aaron Donald's going to make some plays. I think that's a tough one to game plan for, that Josh is going to play like that.
And then on top of it, you've got Stafford, who was quite frankly atrocious.
That's the book on him, though, right? You get to him.
Yeah, he wouldn't get off his first read, and then he was just making terrible errant passes. I mean, just was overall, it was a very odd game. And like when you get 4 free possessions from the other team, you should win the game. And the Bills still beat them by 21, which is just proof in the pudding.
Yeah, I believe in toxic differential a ton, and it was tied in this game, and that you shouldn't have like a blowout victory.
You shouldn't lose by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, you shouldn't have a blowout victory in a tie. It was a really wonky, dude. Week 1, it's so weird. I don't know.
Well, even on top of it, my brother Ian, he even had mentioned that he was looking up stats, and 30% of all ticket sales were out of Western New York.
Yeah,
and they actually had to go to a silent count because of how loud the Buffalo fans were at SoFi. I mean, that alone that's just ridiculous. I just don't think the Rams.
I mean, LA sports kind of.
Nobody
like
cares.
Yeah, it's like Miami.
It's a lot like Miami.
Yeah.
That being said, we are going to be debuting a brand new segment this evening. Super excited. Ian, roll it.
Damn.
So, damn is the brand new segment. It's about dumb shit that happens in the NFL each week. This week is a new one. If you ever wonder why appliances come with warnings that only the dumbest of people would need, here's why. An absolute genius by Dolphins fan standards left a grill unattended in a parking lot of Hard Rock Stadium immediately after a tailgate party. The following result was that the grill caught fire, and through catastrophic series of events, completely destroyed at least 8 cars, though sources say it could be up to 13 were torched. Dense black smoke could be seen floating over Hard Rock Stadium during the second quarter, as at least 8 onlookers were blissfully unaware that their ride home was burning to the ground. So some congrats to Dolphins fans for being this week's inaugural recipients of the Damn segment. So, Pan, what did you guys think about this unbelievably ridiculous story that came out?
I guess Dolphins fans were just so excited for Tua that they were literally ready to burn the city down after he threw 1 slant touchdown. No, but honestly, if I walked out after a game to see my car was completely torched like that, first of all, there's a good chance my golf clubs would have been in the car.
Oh.
Second of all, I would have murdered. I would have not like jokingly. I would have committed murder to someone.
I think I would actually been pretty happy.
New car.
I've got a 2010 Jetta.
You're good.
I'd be amped. And honestly, even with the golf clubs, I'd go and get a brand new set of new fitted clubs. I mean, that's like
Well, it just
Primo.
depends on what
You're
the
assuming
guy's
somebody
insurance.
has insurance.
That's
here.
what I'm saying. And in Florida, bro,
I don't know, man. You
you're
might
in
be on your
Florida
own.
town. You're going to be on your own. Especially in Florida, I would not be taking. Plus, good luck trying to figure out whose fault that was.
They're probably just going to be like, "Oh yeah, another parking lot fire.
Yeah,
third one of the
third
week.
one this week."
Right.
But
What's even worse is you have to call the insurance company. What happened? Well, I set 11 cars on fire.
Yeah, dude.
Oh.
Well, listen, we'll be there after we put this brush fire out.
This one actually pisses me off, to be honest, dude, because I've seen stuff like this similar Bills games. I'm shocked that cars have not caught on fire, where like people, because like if you grill a lot and do charcoal and stuff, you understand how long that stuff takes to get down in temperature. Like you can't just like slide it under your car where there's like combustible fuel.
That's definitely what happened.
Like, that's what I heard. The person literally slid it under their car.
People do. I've seen it at tailgates at Bills games, and they're like, they just think because the coals are simmering, it's not actually flames, but they don't realize like those coals can actually reignite or just that heat like that gives off, like stuff can happen. But super irresponsible. When I never really like to actually bring a charcoal grill to a game because it's such a fucking pain. Sorry for swearing, because it's such a damn pain. If I do though, there was a few recipes where I had to. You bring like a metal trash can and you put the coals in there and let them like stay away and off to the side.
Oh yeah,
easy peasy. So anyway, that upsets me.
Perfect storm of dumb for that to happen.
Well, it's Dolphins fans, so it's
Yeah.
pretty easy to
like cook their own food in Miami. I feel like all those people are just like
another headline that starts Florida man.
Yeah.
Well, it's even more ironic because there was like 40 fans in the stadium and 11 of them lost their cars. So
rough,
unbelievable percentages. But it's okay. I mean, who cares? They won't go back to another game. I wouldn't even be surprised if those same people were.
Hey, at least Bills Mafia is not the least embarrassing or the most embarrassing tailgate of 2022 to start. So
sure. No, we don't like cars on fire. We like people. Totally different.
People light themselves.
Much different.
These people light themselves. Yeah.
That being said, we saw the Dolphins beat the Patriots 20-7 in a fairly pathetic performance, which basically showed Tua still has zero arm strength and Mac Jones is an absolute tire fire. And the Jets got walked by the Ravens. So as of week 1, Nate, Aaron, what are your thoughts on the AFC East? Excuse me.
The AFC East. What's the Dennis Green, the late Dennis Green? They are who we thought they were. They are exactly who we thought they were. I mean, at least that's who I mean, I thought that the Jets were going to be the worst team in the division. But I thought that they'd be better than we saw. Now, Joe Flacco's the quarterback, but that's a roster that has a lot of pieces, a lot of talent, and they just have not really put it together. So I was a little surprised to see them get outclassed in that game. But in terms of Patriots and Dolphins, I don't know what to say about that game, because you could be of the mind where you're impressed with or believe that you saw something from Tua in that game. And I think that was about the exact same guy we saw last year, with one more toy at his disposal and another second of time to spare with the offensive line improvements. But I think they went through 2 right tackles in that game, the Dolphins, and they're still starting Robert Hunt. I think they got 2 nice pieces along their offensive line. I'm not totally sold Connor Williams is a center long term. He's a guard. I mean, he's never taken the snaps in the NFL as a center. He did at Texas, but that's a shift in what that guy has done his entire career. So I'm not totally convinced that offensive line's coming together. The defense for the Dolphins, it's hard to judge because I just think the Patriots offense is an absolute joke. I think their offensive line has trended towards getting smaller. I mean, Cole Strange, their first round pick, is by NFL standards small for the guard position, not conducive to a running game. They're using Ty Montgomery in the Lord's year 2022. They are paying $12 million for Jonnu Smith to be a glorified screen catcher as a tight end. And Joe Judge and Matt Patricia are the think tank behind their offense. So, both teams in that game, it really, the Dolphins scored 14 offensive points in that game. So, I mean, or did they? Was it 20-7? They scored 7. They scored 1 touchdown offensively in that game against the Patriots defense that gave up how many points to the Bills in those last 2 games? Were victims of a Josh Allen perfect game. So I don't know about the victory lap so much that I'm seeing from Dolphins fans as their team squeaked one out against the team that I have winning 7 or 8 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think everybody sort of lined up who we thought they were going to be. I'm bummed Flacco's playing. I think it's a bit of an embarrassment to the league in terms of the backup quarterback situation. I think it goes to show how weak it is.
Suppose it's not Josh Johnson.
I would have rather seen Colin Kaepernick play football than Joe Flacco. You know what I mean? And there's a number of guys I think that could get that spot over a guy like that. But anyway, I do want to see Zach Wilson. I'm actually excited about the Jets 2 to 3 years. Not excited, but I think that that's a team that if he hits and he's got the most potential out of these 2 other quarterbacks or these 3 other quarterbacks, he's got the most potential to be a guy that hits his ceiling. That could be a team that could challenge the Bills in a couple of years. The other guys, Patriots are a descending team. They are just falling apart. They're a plane that is just the wings have fallen off, and it's a slow descent over the last couple of years, and now it's just going right down straight. And Nate hit on all the points, but that's exactly what I sort of expected to see from all the reports coming out this preseason, that this game was going to be a train wreck. Now, I do think that defense will come together for enough games and they'll get some semblance of a running game going for enough games where they can probably squeak out that 7-8 wins maybe this season. But I think both these teams, one thing I will say, that the only thing I can really say is different than Nate. I've seen a lot of bad football in the last 20 plus years of my life, 25 years of my life. I've seen a lot of mediocre football. That Patriots, Dolphins, that was bad to mediocre football. The Jets are bad football. And those, when I now know how it feels to be a Patriots fan, looking at a division of a bunch of guys that one team's got their tires stuck in the mud and the other ones, their tires have fallen off, and just say, okay, well, we got 6 wins here wrapped up. Let's just go out, win this division, and then go win the entire conference. Like, that's a crazy feeling to know, like, hey, we can get these ones out of the way. And I hate to say it because it's hard to win all your division games and maybe something slips up here, but going into this season, dude, like, those are the easiest games on the schedule right now.
Who would have thought that when you looked at the schedule initially, having the Jets and the Patriots and the Dolphins all in December would have actually been a benefit to the Bills, because you're going to have those 3 teams that are already terrible coming into a blistering
Dolphins aren't
Buffalo.
terrible.
Yeah, and the Dolphins will probably get better as the season goes along.
And they have more speed than anyone, and speed can kill the Bills.
Yes, it can. Speed can kill the Bills. But here's what I'll say, though, at least for the Dolphins, right? I think their defense will find their way too. I know they only gave up 7 points to the Patriots. But like that linebacking group, the back 7, Javon Holland's a young stud. Like, he's going to be a really good player in this league. Xavier Howard, I think, is historically one of the most overrated corners in all of football. I think he is he's a guy that feasts on turnovers, and turnovers are an incredibly random stat. So I think for me, he gets absolutely torched by Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs has a 3.5-minute highlight film of catches over Xavier Howard by himself. So he's like J.C. Jackson to me. I just don't understand the love for J.C. Jackson. I watched him.
Well, it's Trayvon Diggs too.
I was just going to say, it's exactly Diggs.
So it's these guys that
Splash
sort of
plays.
feast on these splash and maybe not, like, what you'd say in the business world. They're not scalable. They're not a thing that you should really build on year to year, because there's a lot of randomness to turnovers. And I think that's what you're likely going to see. Now, I know a lot of the same principles from Brian Flores' defense have carried over. They kept their defensive coordinator last year. So it still is that blitz heavy, and it resembles, like, they got a lot of exotic looks. But overall, like, I do think that defense will kind of come into its own. They're probably a top 15 unit. I just think at the end of the day, they don't know, they've got no way to can't figure out how to utilize Mike Gesicki. I think the guy I like the most in that offense is Cedric Wilson. I'm a big fan of his. I think Dallas really messed up in a big way not bringing him back, and I thought yesterday really showed that even before the Dak injury. So I like him. I like them. And obviously Tyreek Hill and Waddle are 2 really unique talents.
Yeah.
But the Bills are going to run zone coverage, and the Bills are going to
they're going to take away that first read from Tua.
They're going to take away the first read from Tua, but I think there's going to be defenses in pre to post snap where they're going to make Tua think that pre-snap that the ball needs to go down the field and needs to go vertical. And that's exactly what they want. Like, Tyreek Hill, I think Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, what you want to be careful of is letting them get those short and then yards after catch. And that's really where those guys can hurt you. So I almost think they're going to try to bait a lot of what Miami does to try to get him to go down the field, because I don't think that anybody thinks Tua is capable of beating NFL teams down the field, which is just, as a proclaimed Tua hater, this is just not the guy we saw at Alabama.
No,
it's just not.
Injury was catastrophic.
I guess, but he's healthy now. I think to a certain extent, right?
Is it easy to be the quarterback of Alabama? Can we talk about that?
I think that's got to be. You and I mentioned that Saturday, right? I think we were talking about that before college football came on when you were in studio with me. Like, part of the evaluation process with these Alabama quarterbacks, I think that that conversation has to be had. I mean,
Ohio State's same way, right?
5 first-round picks he was throwing to.
Yeah. Ohio State's been the same way for years. I think you were really trumpeting that when it was the year McLaurin and Haskins, rest in peace, came out. Yeah. And I watched a ton of McLaurin. We were in the market for receivers. I fell in love with him as a draft cross. And I just kept saying all the time, like, man, these Ohio State receivers are like making this guy look good. Like, they were just taking balls to the house and poorly thrown balls. And all of a sudden Haskins came out like as a hot name in this QB thing. And I'm just not seeing it at all. But that it does totally happen. You're right.
Yeah, it's interesting with Tua. I personally just don't think he's talented enough for a run and gun offense. I mean, that's the biggest thing that's going to happen is I think the Bills are going to allow, and I feel like it's almost like when the Bills get into late game scenarios where they let everything stay in front of them. I just think that they're going to allow Josh to continue doing what he does with the expectation that Tua is not going to be able to keep up.
Tua just has to be Jimmy Garoppolo, though. He doesn't have to be.
I don't even think he's that. That's the problem, because Jimmy actually has an arm. I don't think Tua has any. I mean, if you looked, first pass of the game was terrible. Terrible. It was to nowhere.
Dolphins fans will let you know that it was tipped to the line of scrimmage.
Sure.
I got a question for Dolphins fans. Everyone, I'm not convinced that Mike McDaniel's this genius. I think he's tricked everybody into getting this job, and I think it's like he's like some kid that just used all the right buzzwords and worked his way up a startup. And now he's like the CEO of a startup.
Hot take for you. Well, this isn't a hot take. I think this is just a funny take. Mike McDaniel is just modern day Jim Tomsula. He's a baloney salesman who has no business being there.
And he's tricked everyone.
He's like a millennial, and what he preaches is vibes. He's a coach that just lives on vibes. And the vibes in Miami will get very bad if they lose to the Bills at home. That fan base. I'm
not worried about the fan base's vibe.
No. Yeah, they will not be able to deal with me. I will be insufferable. They better hope that I mean, guys, just so we know, like I'm prepared for them to be unbearable to me if they win, but
that line's gonna be like 10 plus, right? Like
double digits.
Here's one though. So McDaniel, the question to if anyone out here listening is a fan of his, if this guy is so smart, he's this genius, right? Like he's this next level offensive genius, but he can't figure out how to use Mike Gesicki. Like, think about that first.
Yeah, one target.
You got to think about that. Like, are you really this genius, but you can't fit this guy into your offense?
Who is like,
I could figure out how to get him the ball.
I could. I mean, he's not like I calling him a unicorn is so dramatic. Not a unicorn.
No.
He's a unique talent. He's not an inline tight end. I get it. He's got a limited
He can force stress on the defensive coordinator, though.
Yes, and you should have multiple packages built where he's just lining up in the slot in lieu of Cedric Wilson, or lining up outside with
red zone
a
targets.
trips formation with Waddle and Hill around him. Yeah, they should be building formations around him. It's a shame they're not.
Yeah, some genius. It's weird to me. We call this guy a genius, but I don't know what has he done. What is it?
It's like what's the documentary? The guy that created the workspaces, where companies could buy a workspace, and he built it all over the world, and then it flamed out. You know what I'm talking about?
I do. Yeah.
I feel like Mike McDaniel's more like the dude that started that. What was it? Firefest. He's a Firefest coach.
Probably.
WeWork, yes, WeWork.
Yep.
Yes, WeWork.
Yeah, he's like the guy that started WeWork. He just totally just blew smoke up people's ass. It's wild.
It happens a lot.
For sure.
Fake it till you make it.
So, Bills, obviously, they walked into SoFi Stadium this past Thursday with 4 turnovers. And I know we kind of touched on it in the early part of the show. But what were your reactions to the game? How do you think everything fared for them?
I'll start with this one, Nate. I thought, one, it was a sloppy game. I don't expect the Bills offense to play that sloppy. It was a lot of fluky stuff. Week 1's weird. Right. You can't remove those from the game, right? Like it was 10-10 at half. You can't take that away. But man, those two teams were not the same conversation being had in the locker room 10-10 at half. And then it showed up in the second half. The Bills just put their pedal down. And to me, what it did was the hype that's come in sort of justified that, but more what we saw Josh Allen in that offense do at the end of the season with Brian Dable. Like everyone was trying to figure out what was it that got the offense clicking around week 8-9 going forward to the end of the season. And really maybe we thought was the crescendo. Like maybe this is the best this offense will ever get is the Patriots and Kansas City game. I know I had that fear in me. Like maybe everything just lined up just right for that run. And we missed that special Super Bowl run that teams get every once in a while. But then we saw them come out. And again, outside of the turnovers, it was perfect football offensively. Like the Buffalo Bills, I've heard some analysts talk about like kind of overstating the 10-10 aspect of that game and that, you know, oh, they were in it. They were within a few plays and, oh, if things just went the other way, like the Bills really dominated that game. They were always moving forward. They didn't have to punt. They weren't forced into situations to even consider punting. 9 of 10 on third down. Like they had their way. It was complete domination. It was reminiscent of those last 2 games in which we saw them. And for me, that was all the confirmation I need to know that one, the offense didn't hit their peak in that playoffs and that they can get back to that and still exceed that.
And the Rams are very lucky the Bills didn't drop a 40 or 50 burger.
Should have been 45-10.
Yeah. And I think my biggest takeaway, Ken Dorsey, a lot to what Aaron was talking about, just really being comfortable, having a really firm grip of kind of how he wants to attack defenses, seeing the second half adjustments on top of building a really strong game script. If you want to talk about, differences in each team, I thought Ken Dorsey's game script really inserted and injected, creativity and
some
personnel
Shanahan
groupings.
stuff.
And using a lot of different personnel and guys like that. So I thought for a lot of that, I liked what I saw from Dorsey a lot. But, I think too, Josh Allen, Ken Dorsey, these guys, the offense will continue to sort of get talked about. But I think to me, the defense is still criminally being under talked about in this game. And, kudos to Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott for preparing their young corners for the moment. And I think the thing that maybe if the Bills lose the game and Christian Benford gets torched, I think we're having a very different conversation, but the guts, the level of comfort this organization and its decision makers feel in order to be able to play a 6th-round pick over the first-round guy that you signed, I think is really telling to me just about where they are as a franchise. Is that a move that first-year Sean McDermott can pull out? Probably not. Like, is that a move right now that Pete Carroll could do? Is that a move, like these coaches that I'll tell you, it's, Mike McCarthy doesn't have that luxury, right? He can't start a 6th-round pick over his first rounder at the same position. It just goes to show you a team that truly means the shit they say constantly, right? Is, earned, not given. And that can mean a lot of nonsense that is from Little League on, it's always, you got to earn your place, but the guys that play, the guys that start. This Bills organization, you could have easily walked into training camp. The thing is the reason that the players trust and respect this coaching staff so much is because of things like that, right? Like a guy, everyone in that locker room on the field saw Christian Benford and what he was doing on the field. And you can't you make decisions based on a guy's draft status while the rest of the team knows the truth. That's really where you start to get these breakdowns in culture and these rifts that happen. And this culture that's been cultivated from the top, it was a punchline early, but it's not a punchline anymore. I mean, it's a driving force for everything they do.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, and look at Quentin Morris. He made them eat $3 million of dead cap right there.
Right. Of OJ Howard. Yep.
Yeah. And to the point of culture, it matters the people you bring in. And I think everything that I've heard about Kaiir Elam and the type of guy that he is, this isn't bruising his ego or creating any of that. So, like, you can have guys that understand that, hey, this guy beat me out for the job, and everything we've heard is they're good friends. Benford and Elam are great friends, and they're encouraging each other and working with each other, and this iron sharpens iron mentality is like real and within the locker room. And that was a great point, Nate, that all these cliches, I've been saying this on our show for years, like, people get frustrated with the cliches, but it is really preached and practiced at One Bills Drive. Like, I think Sean McDermott probably has a bunch of stupid motivational slogans all over his office, and he lives by those as like some code every single day of his life, and that's how he operates. Like, he takes his stuff for real, and I think it resonates throughout the building.
Oh, absolutely. I guarantee you his wife shops at the home store and gets all those plaques with the, in Jesus we trust.
It's funny that you think he spends time at his house.
Yeah, right.
How many live, love, laughs do you think he has at that house?
Yeah, as many as she wants. He's not there.
Yeah,
he's in the office
for sure. Now, speaking of that, and obviously you brought up defense, this week's game against the Titans is going to be the true test, because we're going to see now the antithesis of the defensive line and what they can do against a Derrick Henry after what they were able to do against a Rams offensive line in a pass-heavy offense. That being said, what is your key to victory for the Bills this week at the home opener against the Tennessee Titans?
I'll start. Let Josh do Josh stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if Josh can play the way that he played this past week and the way that he played the last 3, 4, 5 times that we saw Josh Allen playing football, like, the defense is going to do what they do. A Leslie Frazier, Sean McDermott defense is going to do what they do. They're not going to give up big plays over the top. Maybe Henry breaks 1 or 2. If you can keep the Titans to under 21 points, I don't think that they can stop the Bills from scoring 30 plus. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I'm at, really. And that's going to be kind of my go-to every season. Like, yeah, there's going to be guys on the other side of the football that are going to present some problems, but if Josh Allen and the offense can score 30 plus, I think this defense can hold almost any team in the league to under 20. Like, that's the formula, and that's how we're going to ride it. And I think that that's why you'll see them as double-digit point favorites in almost every game coming up this season.
I am really, really looking forward to, first of all, it's Monday Night Football. It's the home opener.
The place might explode. Like,
and the juice that defense played with, the physicality, not just defense, but special teams played with. That's what I'm going to be paying attention to in this game because of who the opponent is. Tennessee is one of the toughest teams in the league, just in terms of power, size. They play a very physical brand of football. It's sort of an extension of their coach, right? I'm not a huge Vrabel fan, but that team plays hard, and they're a physical football team.
Sean McDermott admires the way that team plays.
And they may lack, I think, an overall, like, I don't love their system. I don't love their reliance on Derrick Henry. I don't think it's not sustainable, and I think that's kind of showing, and I don't think Tannehill's all that great. But that's a defensive line and an offensive line that at the line of scrimmage in the trenches, what they're there to do is impose their will. And I thought that both defense and offensive lines last week, for the most part, short of some moments from Aaron Donald, which, is going to happen, I thought that the Bills really imposed a physicality, a will, that I did not have that sort of mindset, or maybe I want to say like mean streak to it last year. Von Miller brings like a different kind of gritty. He brings a different kind of cocky to the field. And then you add
if you couldn't be blocked, you'd be cocky too.
Absolutely. And you add in the Jordan Phillips edge to it. They really have on that defensive line something that radiates to the rest of the roster, to the rest of the lineup on that defensive side of the ball. So I think the key to the game is, one thing I'm going to really watch for is, even if it's a close game, the Bills win by 3 points, 5 points, 7 points, whatever it is. But there's a real physicality to their game that they met the moment and that they matched Tennessee's physicality or out physicaled them. That's going to me anyways, show that it doesn't matter who they play. Like they're going to play the Ravens here in a couple of weeks. They're going to play some power run teams. They're going to play Cleveland later in the season. Can you step up when you are going to be facing teams that are focused on getting downhill and playing with physicality? And I cannot believe I went through the defensive line, talked about Jordan Phillips, talked about Von Miller, and didn't even mention Daquan Jones's name, who is going to be playing against his former team. I mean, just was an absolute steady rock all game long. And you didn't see his name a lot or hear his name. You didn't see his number a lot because he was getting swamped by double teams, breaking through them and playing 63% of the snaps or whatever it was. So, I mean, just a huge addition for Brandon Beane and this Bills defensive line. And I'm excited to see them maybe this is kind of the revenge tour season. It sort of feels like for me. I think they've got a little bad taste in their mouth from that Tennessee game on Monday night last year. And I don't think this game's going to be particularly close. I do think the Bills cover. I know that it's week 1, and I know that it was a little fluky maybe at the end. You lose to the Giants. I got serious.
I think they're in trouble.
I think they are in real trouble.
Yeah,
you have to look their offensive line. They're already missing Quessenberry and Saffold.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'll be honest, I said this to my coworker today. I don't know it to be true, but it's a feeling. I don't know if Derrick Henry is truly 100% because he came back incredibly quick into the playoffs last year. I just have this weird feeling that because they were running with who's the backup running back they were using yesterday?
Hilliard. They got 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Fucking poaching touchdowns from Henry for me. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They were using Hilliard a lot. It seemed as though they weren't as leaning on Derrick Henry as they normally would, especially against a not that great New York Giants team. A New York Giants team that had their number 1 wide receiver was David Sills. Like, you're not talking an all-star cast right there. You should be able to beat them.
And they did. Barkley went off.
Right. So, Saquon had 9.1 yards per carry or something ridiculous.
Tennessee's young wide receivers, Robert Woods is definitely not healthy yet. He's not 100%.
And there's no relationship there with Tannehill yet.
None. Yeah, none. And, to me, my biggest question about the Tennessee Titans is how soon do we see Malik Willis?
I don't think it'll be this week. So my biggest question about this week's matchup, I think you made a lot of great points, Nate. My only question is if there's a matchup that gets the Bills at a nickel, even a percentage of the time on the schedule, it's got to be this, right? Like there's no other teams that like the wide receivers don't bother me. I'm not a guy that wants to take Taron Johnson off the field. I think that the Bills are better with him on the field than without him. But if there's a team where like you could go with 3 linebackers, I feel like the Titans would be
or Saran Neal.
Or Saran Neal. Yeah, sure. Bring in that hybrid type player or something like that. I think they'll stay in nickel for the most part and just ride it out. But like if Derrick Henry was to get going, this will be the game I'm interested to see if it'll break them out of the nickel 98% of the time or whatever they're running it.
I will say though, Traylon Burks did look really nice for filling in for AJ Brown or replacing, not really filling in.
I mean, that Giants defense not good.
No, it's not.
No, but their defensive line's okay. But yeah, no, not really, not good.
Not that great.
We'll see.
It is great. Travis Matthews Innovative Fabrics. They keep you looking and feeling your best. Whether you're on the golf course or strolling through town, offering supreme comfort for every aspect of your life. With clothing that's quick drying, wrinkle resistant, and super soft, you can move seamlessly from work to play. Get 20% off your first order and free shipping at travismatthew.com. You'll find a link right on Buffalo Late Night's social media pages. Finally, what is your gentleman's predictions
Can I
for
just say,
Monday night's home opener? Go right on.
Can I just say one thing? It's Monday night while we're recording here. It's 2022, and Geno Smith is winning a football game. His team is leading a win on Monday Night Football. Against Russell Wilson, who's playing for the Broncos.
He's 21 of 25 for 191 and 2 tutties.
What is going on, dude? 2022.
Seattle, Chicago, Houston, not going to be nearly as bad as people thought they were going to be.
What a wild world we live in. 2022 and Geno Smith's winning on Monday Night Football.
Uh-oh.
I jinxed him. Oh, no. Okay, anyway, sorry. Continue the show.
What's happening with Ryan Nassib, though?
Wow, I haven't heard that name in 80 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everybody thought he was going to get drafted. It's okay now.
Aaron, you want to go first?
Sorry, the question, what were we talking? What's going to happen on Monday night?
What's your prediction?
My prediction? I don't have an actual score prediction yet. I am still in the process of working my way through. We do our show Wednesday night for our preview show, which is going to be a great one this week. And so I don't necessarily have a score prediction for you, but I think, what's the spread right now? 10?
9.5.
9.5. I think it's over. I think they pound that over. I think the Bills are this will be another boat race. I think Josh Allen's going to continue on the type of game that he's playing, the symbiotic relationship with him and Dorsey, and the next level of Josh unlocking he talked a little bit this offseason in multiple interviews about some of the option routes within this offense and how that they give these guys, the wide receivers and QBs, some more flexibility than exists league wide. I think we're starting to finally see that paying off. Josh seeing it, him and Diggs being on the same page. Like, this is just another day at the office, I think, for this offense. Until somebody figures it out and knocks Josh back down a pedestal, he's going to keep rolling teams and steamboat or boat racing teams out of the building. I think the defense continues to play just the steady Eddie, what we've come to expect out of him. It doesn't look super sexy, but by the end of the game, the other teams held to 17, 18, 20 something points, and the Bills are up, 3 scores. So I expect a game like that, a nice party to open up the season. And I just hope everyone has a happy and healthy and safe tailgating experience, because it's gonna be wild, dude. The Bills Mafia might burn the city down. Monday night home opener, like this, it might be too much.
I'm a little nervous. My wife's pregnant, almost 6 months pregnant, and I'm a little nervous bringing her to the stadium at this point because it's gonna be.
Are you sitting up high?
No, if
that concrete might not hold.
108. Yeah, right. Dear Lord. Please burn less than 13 cars. Nate, do you have a score prediction?
Along the lines of Aaron, I like them to cover that 9.5. I think that the line will get up to about 10.5. It may be higher before the end of the week. I really love what Aaron said about Ken Dorsey and how synchronized him and Allen looked at. The word I'll use is ownership. And I think that Josh Allen has a lot of ownership in this offense. I was really impressed with the check with me's and really the grasp of the line of scrimmage and how to get his team into better looks. And it's very clear that him and Ken Dorsey, Ken knows the things that Josh wants to do. He's going to call those plays because Josh likes to run them, but he's going to give Josh the opportunity to check in and out of plays, whether it's pass to run, run to pass. And that phase of this is why the continuity around Josh Allen and the continuity around Lamar Jackson that's the reason those are the 2 most successful quarterbacks from this draft class. On top of, Josh being maybe the most athletic quarterback to ever play the game and Lamar Jackson being a unicorn in himself. There's Baker Mayfield's a starting caliber quarterback in this league. I do think that if Sam Darnold doesn't get ruined by the New York Jets, he's, a capable starter in the NFL. But it just goes to show you that what a really strong foundational franchise who keeps the same voices, but keeps that positive affirmation and that coaching style culture that they have. And listen, a lot of this goes on the fact that Josh Allen works so damn hard in the offseason. When you draft a player, that's not something you can really know about someone. That's why you see so many of these misses in the NFL. You can't know what the guy's desire to be great is. And it's very obvious Josh's is very high. So like, I think the biggest reason this offense looked as good as it did in week 1 and why they'll look great again next week against the Tennessee Titans is just because I think we're just seeing the beginnings, I think, of Josh taking over this offense. And it really would not surprise me if Ken Dorsey's, throwing 3 plays in Josh Allen's ear by the end of the year and letting him go to town. And I think that's what Ken wants Josh to do. And I think that it'll put the Bills in the best situation because, not to go off on a tangent, but thinking about Allen in the draft process, the one thing that you universally heard about Allen was the grease board. When he was up at the the chalkboard or the dry erase board, and teams were testing him in his knowledge and going over plays and his recognition and his that was where he was really head above heels the other players in the draft at the quarterback position. And I think now at 25, going to be 26 years old, the maturity level, all that stuff, like we are approaching the true prime of
the eventual ceiling,
the best quarterback in franchise history. And I think we're all, I know I'm very excited to see what that evolves into, knowing how good it's been the last 3 games.
Yeah. I always go back and I like watching this. And if for anybody that hasn't seen it, Rich Eisen had John Brinkus and Trent Dilfer on his show just before the draft, just before the Allen draft. And the one thing they always talked about is like all the things that went into Josh Allen and like what they felt he was like. They said he was like Favre, he was like Elway. But the one thing that Dilfer said was, of all the quarterbacks he's ever tested, the internal voice of Josh Allen was stronger than anybody they'd ever tested, and that he had wanted it more than any other quarterback that he ever tested.
That was Dilfer, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was Dilfer that said that. Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Yeah, I said it on with you this weekend, Nate, and this is not a thing that I talk about lightly. Like, I respect sports and I respect the history of sports and I respect greatness. And I don't know if Josh Allen will be great or not. Tim Graham actually wrote a great article about, like, can Josh Allen be the greatest? And I suggest everybody, if you don't have The Athletic, you should. And you should go read that article by Tim. He's amazing at what he does. So you should read everything he does anyway. But I said on your show, Nate, this weekend that he really has like that Mamba mentality. Like he is a guy that just has that extra thing that does allow, whether or not he will be great, he has the thing that you need in order to be one of the greatest ever, one of the Tiger Woods, the Tom Brady type guys. Like he's got that extra. It's what Jamarcus Russell was lacking. Josh Allen is everything Jamarcus Russell was supposed to be, but Jamarcus didn't have that desire to just be a perfectionist and great at something.
And the crazy thing is I've talked to other people and I've said, when Josh Allen is at his best, there may not be better. There may not ever of anybody ever that's played the position. There might not be better than Josh Allen when he is at his peak.
I don't love Colin Cowherd generally. I loved his comparison to Giannis, one of one, a guy that, there will be guys that do some things better like Mahomes. Like I agree. But right now, the golden era going from Manning and Brady to Mahomes and Allen. I agree. Herbert's got to be mentioned in there too. But I think if you're looking at the two right now, it's Allen and Mahomes, and we'll see if Herbert long-term could be that 3. But yeah, I mean, what a treat. And I mean, it's just awesome that, the Bills have one of those guys. Because you just
Herbert
know
is Phillip Rivers.
Maybe, but he might win though. I think that Chargers team could absolutely win a Super Bowl in Justin Herbert's.
And he's in line with the new, you need to be able to make plays and extend plays and all that stuff and throw the ball wherever you can on the field. It's like a new thing that quarterbacks need to be great. There's a message that I'm going to start preaching really on Twitter and shows when I can and an opportunity comes up is, as Bills fans, it's okay for us to appreciate Josh Allen and love Josh Allen and just think he is the best thing ever. And also appreciate other young, awesome quarterback play. Like you're right, Nate, this is kind of a golden era. This is the Kelly, Marino, Elway type thing. I can't remember a time in my life where there's probably this much stockpile of good young QB talent where we haven't even talked about Joe Burrow, right? Like we haven't talked about some of these names of super talented QBs that are in this league. I think it's okay to give Josh every single flower you have, but also give these other guys your flowers too. I've seen people hating on Herbert and the hate for Mahomes and stuff like that. It's like, dude, enjoy these great quarterback play because it doesn't come around all that often.
It's the same thing as, when you had the Roethlisberger and Manning and Brady and all them, you didn't like Brady, but man, it's just unbelievable what he's capable of doing on a consistent basis.
Either, to be honest.
Yeah, I think this era is a step above that.
And how about this too? Just as a capstone, like the likability factor of all these quarterbacks: Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, Burrow. I mean,
even Brady's likable now. Rodgers
Brady's likable now. Yeah, Rodgers is not likable, but Brady was not for a very long time. Patriot way Brady was not likable. He's really, his image has changed a lot. But like the future
Broncos country.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's
got it. That's right. Yeah, I think this generation of quarterbacks, from a personality to the type of game they play, and the problem is it's all in the AFC, which lends me to think that I think all of them, stats would probably say one of those four guys, Burrow, Allen, Mahomes already has his, so Burrow, Allen, Herbert, of those three, probably only two, most likely only one, end up winning a Super Bowl. So I just hope Josh Allen's one of those two.
You know what? I kind of feel bad a little bit for Derek Carr, because I feel like if he came around in like the early mid 2000s, he'd be one of the top QBs in like that era.
I also
throws a pretty ball.
He's your dad's era's franchise QB.
He throws a beautiful ball. You give him a clean pocket. Like, I watch that guy at some of the throws he makes, but he just doesn't have.
I also feel bad that
what
he had
you
a
need
brother
to be
that got ransacked, because people automatically look at Derek Carr and think about David.
Yeah, it is true.
And they're so different. I mean, Derek, if you look at Derek's stats, Derek has, I mean, it's unbelievable. The yards Derek Carr has. And then David Carr.
Far, though, Derek has had like a very Matt Stafford-y career where it's like, cool, you put up big stats and losing battles.
Yeah, but they'll probably Stafford's gonna end up. Had Stafford not won a Super Bowl, I think he may have still found his way into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, he had 5,000 yard years.
It's going to depend what happens with Philip Rivers. If Philip Rivers gets in, you're going to start seeing
this era of quarterbacks is going to be like the last era of wide receivers.
Yeah, where there was like a million of them.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, that's all we got. Nate, I want you to have an opportunity to talk about what you're working with Thin Man Brewery.
Yeah, really excited. The end of the month, Friday, September 30th, I'm holding a fundraiser and a release party. I came out with a beer with Thin Man Brewing. We'll have our release party Friday the 30th at Thin Man on Elmwood in Buffalo. Huge raffle. We're raffling off a kegerator, courtesy of consumers. I've got a Micah Hyde signed jersey thanks to the Bills. They also gave us a crucial catch ball, game ball that was signed by Sean McDermott. I've got a one of a kind Seinfeld script that's signed by Jason Alexander. That'll be raffled off for $25 a ticket. So if you're a Seinfeld fan, you want to be there. And we're gonna release and premiere our super tasty, delicious guava Kolsch cancer beer. So yeah, it's gonna be a great night. Macy's Place Pizza. If you've seen me tweet about them, they're gonna be feeding the house there. It's open to the public, and would love anybody and everybody that we'd love to have you if you'll be there.
It's on my calendar. I'm planning on it.
It sounds like a darn good
great guy. People give him a hard time on Twitter. He's a good guy.
We'll have fun, and I drink well, so we'll.
He's a Geary. You got with a last name like Geary, you better drink well.
I welcome those who I welcome the haters into Thin Man. Please come talk some trash to me, and then spend some money, and we'll be good.
Actually, I don't know if I'm gonna go now. If all your haters show up, half of your haters also hate me.
At least half. At least half.
That's okay. But hey, gentlemen, tell people where they can find your content.
Go for it, Nate.
Most of it is right there at Nate Geary Sports on Twitter. I from time to time will write at WGR550.com, but I'll be doing post game this week. All the primetime games. I do post game for the network, and then for the rest of the season, all the 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock games, standard games, I'll be doing pre-game and post game on the Overtime Show on GR as well.
Is that out of the studio in Amherst?
It is. Home games, I will be at the stadium, though. I'll be at the broadcast booth on Monday night. You can come check us out at the Caesar Sportsbook tailgate party. Joe DiBiase and I will be there hanging out, having a couple of pops, and then I'll head into the stadium and do halftime and post game from there. And I'm looking for that place to just be absolutely rocking. I'm very excited.
It's going to be terrifyingly loud.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Myself, you can find me same thing on Twitter, Aaron Quinn 716. Love engaging over there. But then you can find me every Wednesday night with my co-host Greg Thompson on the Cover One Buffalo podcast. During the season, we're breaking down the matchup coming up. So this week we got a Titans guest, and every week we bring on a new guest from the team, talk about the matchup, and then we compete with Nate and fight with him in real time for viewers of the post game show. So you can catch us on post game here on YouTube or wherever you watch podcast, get your podcast, stuff like that. And you can catch the post game on a podcast form the next day. So you can catch us there all the time. And then Cover One, just follow the network, get over there and follow everyone at Cover One, doing amazing content. Eric grinding the film room as always. Anthony's in there with them, Kendall, those guys are doing a great job. Tons of great shows every night of the week. They've got you covered. So even if you're one of the haters that hate Nate and I, there's somebody else for you on the Cover One network. We've got somebody for everybody.
Everybody likes Greg, so
yeah, Greg's a likable dude. Greg's got some haters. He's gotten into some trouble too. It's hard to be on Twitter and not compile a pound of haters. But you and I, Nate, we attract them. It's like magnets, weirdo magnets.
It is. We do have weirdo magnet, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
It's okay though. That's what makes you special.
You need them. That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
That being said, truly appreciate you guys being here tonight, hopping on and spend a little time with us here at Buffalo Late Night. For everybody watching, truly appreciate it. If you want to go back and look at some of our old content and see what other stuff we've had, go to bflolatenight.com. You can find all of our stuff right there. Or if you want to go on Spotify, you can find all of our past recordings. But as per usual, truly appreciate you being a part. And I truly appreciate you stopping in. I am the Thomas DeLoss. You can find me at the Thomas DeLoss. Once again, go Bills.
The Bills make me wanna shout, kick your heels up and